Hi, my name is Caitlin. Welcome to One Down Dog on Demand. This will be a back class, but we are going to focus a little bit more on strength here. So a lot of times in our yoga practices or our lives, we have all these like aches and pains that we show up and we really just want to stretch. But the reality is most of our back body, our lower back and our upper back is already overstretched from sitting like this all day. So we're going to kind of strengthen things a bit gently and accessibly with a lot of laying on the floor as well. If you'd like to use the playlist, you can go ahead and pull it up. It's in the description of this class, and we'll go ahead and press play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. You might need blocks and a blanket, but if you have none of those props, we'll make do with what you do have. If you do have a blanket, unfold it so it's not as thick. You want it a little bit thinner. You're going to end up putting your head on the ground and just your shoulders on the blanket. Find your block and come to lay on your back. Again, shoulders are on the blanket, head is on the floor, so I have a little more space in my neck as I lift my hips and place the block underneath them. Maybe your arms are by your side, maybe it's awkward with the blanket and you want to have your hands on your chest, but keeping your arms close to the body. As you stretch into the front of the hips, start to release a little bit of the tension in your low back. If you have been sitting a lot today, this might feel pretty intense already. If it's too intense, just pick your feet up for a little bit and check in there. If we spend most of our day seated, this is a really nice way to treat with opposites. Instead of sticking your butt back, you get to lift your butt up. If we spend most of our day hunching over our shoulders, then how can we bring a little strength to our shoulders to support them so they don't feel like they're hunching and stretching all day long? And often when our hips are aching or our low backs are aching, we jump to a stretch rather than building long-term strength to help out with a little bit of these aches and pains. When you're ready, hands come to the block. And if you don't have a block, something like a pillow or something underneath your low back is lovely. And this blanket is always optional. Reach your legs up to the sky, wiggling your toes, maybe riding a bicycle, maybe pointing and flexing your feet. Get a little creative with the movement. Last breath here. Your knees can be gently bent if that's better for your legs or your back. Again, we're going to work hard today, but it's going to be really accessible. It's stuff that you can do. It's a place to start to being like, well, I'm supposed to go to yoga to make me feel better. Where do I begin? Gently setting the feet on the floor. Give yourself a few more breaths here. And when you're ready, remove the block. Come onto your back. And gently roll over onto your left side into a little fetal position, maybe moving your block out of the way. This is a blanket. Move your blanket and your block out of the way. You can find whatever version of laying on your side that feels better, having your hands support the shape, curling into a ball. Take a big breath in, breathe into your low back, and sigh it out. Keeping your knees bent, keeping your ankles together, just very gently open the knees up. Find how tall you can get that leg. What's that top range of motion? And gently bring it back down. We're going to do 2 more just like that. Bringing it up and bringing it down. Maybe engaging and flexing the core and the feet so you really isolate this area. Hold at the very top. Find a little taller, that little more top range of motion. This bottom leg stays grounded. Again, you can rest your head down if that's better. And drop the knee back down. Taking it with the ankles, keeping the knees together, flex your feet. lifting up that top right leg. And dropping it down. You might have more range of motion here. 2 more times. 3 total. Pausing at the very top, holding at the top, kicking that foot a little higher if you can, and dropping it back down. No blanket or anything behind your head, flat on the mat as you roll over onto your back. Feet onto the floor, hips onto the mat. Take a big breath in, pressing into the feet, and reach for your heels. It's not a grab for your heels, but more like fingertips tickling the heels. Proximity. Press your elbows into the ground, making strong little robot arms, walking your elbows in as you lift the hips up. Widen the hips out a little bit. Press into the feet, lift from the front of the hips. And gently come back down. You're going to roll over onto your right side. I'm going to spin around like a break dancer so I can stare at you guys instead of you looking at my back. Laying on the right side. Again, any arm variation that feels good to support this shape. Flexing the feet, keeping the ankles together, lifting that top knee up 3 times, finding the very top range of motion. And then lowering it back down. 2 more. It's a lot harder. Notice like my big toes getting really active. Flex your feet as you try to find that top range of motion and take it a little bit higher. And drop it back down. Knees stay together. You're going to take it into the ankles 3 times, lifting it up, finding that top range of motion. This one's way more fun than the other one. And dropping it down. Building a little bit of hip strength, building a little bit of mobility in the hips to solve some of our achy breaky back situation. If your hips ache a lot, if your low back hurts a lot, check out a little strength. Roll over onto your back. Walk your elbows in, support yourself, press into the feet, lift your hips up. Big breath in, big breath out. Go ahead and lift your left leg off the floor like you're trying to high five someone in front of you with your foot. Keeping your knees in line best as you can, but looking up to the ceiling, maybe walking your elbows in a little more, pressing into that strong foot, pressing into that right glute. Drop it back down. Switch legs, right leg extends. Legs are side by side still. Knees are side by side. They're still hanging out. You're spreading your toes. Make your foot do some of the lifting. And drop it back down. One more time, left leg lifts. If you need to drop your butt for a moment to reset, you can. Keeping the leg in line, lift it all the way up to the sky. You're going to take these little halfway lowers 5 times. Lower halfway, lift it back up. Accessible, you have this. Now, if your neck is starting to hurt, you can put that blanket back underneath your shoulders, but not your head. No blankets and bridge under your head. I have not counted, but I think you might have 2 more. Last one. Drop it down. Keep your bridge. Find that excess of heat. Push your edge. Lift that leg and lower it halfway 5 times. Lifting and lowering. If your bridge is only like a centimeter off the floor, that is fine. You do not have to be super high to be getting that extra glute burn in the leg that's holding you up. Last 1 or 2, depending on what rep you're on. Setting the foot back down. Melting onto the floor. Take a few breaths. Wag your head side to side. So this class is not like a lot of our other classes on at One Down Dog. It's not as much flow. We kind of go from one thing to another. We're not going to be doing chaturangas or vinyasas today, but again, still building heat. Straighten out your legs and come to sit on your palms, putting your hands underneath your butt-ish. They don't have to go too far. Look up towards your third eye, flexing your feet really strong, taking this the world's tiniest fish pose. If you'd like to get bigger, feel free. Just looking up past your nose. And bend the knees, untangle your head. Take a gentle figure 4, left ankle across your right thigh. This is usually our go-to for back pain. Always good idea. But again, we're doing stretch coupled with some strength. If you want to grab onto the right leg and make it deeper, you can, but you can just keep your left or right foot on the floor, left knee pushing away. And switch sides, other leg down, ankle on your thigh, flexing that top foot, pushing your thigh away, maybe scooting your foot closer, maybe grabbing that thigh. You can wiggle, you can stay still. Last breath here. Setting your foot on the floor, untangling your legs, hug your knees into your chest, exhale. Lifting your knees up so they're stacked above your hips, feet are parallel or shins are parallel to the floor. If you want to put a block between the legs to help you engage, you definitely can. Elbows on the ground if your arms are the length to allow you to do so, while still having your hands on your thighs. So hands on your thighs is top priority. Elbows on the ground if you can. And nothing is going to move, but you're going to work really hard here. Your low back is on the floor. Maybe you untuck your butt like I just did. Planting your hands on the thighs, push. Take a big breath in, inflating to the floor. Exhale, work really hard, pushing your hands against your legs against your hands. Big breath in, inflate towards the mat. Exhale, press. You should be shaking a little bit. Maybe give it a shush on your exhale. Inhale into the low back. Shh. Except a little more aggressively if you're feeling the fire. Shh. Last breath here. Push, 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 push. Drop your feet to the floor. Make your way up onto hands and knees if you want to rock and roll to get there, or if you just want to roll to the side to get there. All good options. Coming onto hands and knees. You can put a blanket underneath your knees. Take a moment to turn your hands to the side so you can get a little bit of stretch into the hands. Any hand variation that feels good to you. You can have fingertips on the floor. You can have hands to the side. You can keep your hands in neutral. Start to move into circles, maybe switching the way your hand shape is. Exhaling your hips towards your heels. Inhaling your heart forward. So I've kind of fallen out of love with cat-cow. We do a lot of standing and sitting all day long, a lot of this up and down. And so fall in love with circles instead. Fall in love with diagonal lines, new shapes, rather than sitting and standing or cat-cowing. Make up new versions for your body to move through. If you want to get any other extra add-ons, get your head involved, maybe you do find cat-cow because you are still in love with it, that's fine. Use your core to lift your heart. Use your glutes to lean back. Making any last wiggles of your choice. Again, you can be on fingertips or knuckles if your wrists are kind of sore. Coming into tabletop. Stretch your left leg to the back of the mat. I'm going to spin because I know I'm going to face you guys on the other way. Left leg on the mat so I don't turn my back to you all. Pressing into your left heel. Drop your left heel down. Reach your left arm to the sky. Again, any option with the hands. Play a little air guitar with the arm. See if you can let the pinky drive. So looking at the hand, kind of like a backstroke when you're swimming. Flipping your palm when you need to. So your pinky can continue to drive. Go the other way too. Big breath in. Reach up into the heart. Lift that top leg off the floor and take some little pulses. Make sure your foot is facing the side of the room, the side of the mat. Little tiny pulses. Try not to stick your abs out here. Stay really strong and isolate those little hip pulses. Building up those outer hip strengths for that achy low back. And if you're like, actually, I'm pretty fantastic with this, you might like butt class. You might like fit and surprise yourself. Bring your hands to the floor, tabletop, stretch it out. Down dog, exhale, bend your knees to stretch through the shoulders. Inhale forward to plank and drop the knees down. This time we will take a cat-cow just to relearn it a little bit. Engage your abs as you lift your heart. Tuck your tailbone as you lean back, squeeze your butt. Inhale, focus on the heart lifting. Exhale, focus on the glutes rounding. Last one. Stretch your right toes to the back of the mat. Get a calf stretch. Get a foot stretch. And then drop your right heel down, coming onto your left fingertips or palm if that feels okay. Big breath in. Play a little air guitar. Right hand spinning around, letting the pinky drive. Maybe you have to watch it to know where it's going. Switch the direction of your circles. Reaching that arm up to the sky, lift your right foot off the floor and take little pulses. Keeping your right foot flexed, keeping it facing the side of the room. A lot of times it wants to point up. If anything, point it down. So if you have to err to one or the other, point your toes to the earth. Little pulses. Accessible. Easy. You could do this while laying on the couch watching TV. Well, maybe not this part, but you can lay down and do this. Last one. Plant the hands. Plank pose, stepping to the back of the mat. Down dog, bend your knees. Walk your feet a little wider. Make space for your body. Inhale forward to plank. Drop your knees if you need to. Hug your elbows in as you go all the way to the floor. Put your forehead on the floor and roll your shoulders around. Make some circles with the shoulders, lifting the heart up, but looking at the ground so the back of the neck is long. A lot of times we look up and kind of pinch those very top vertebrae. Feel like you're maybe pressing the back of the skull to the ceiling as you lift your heart and breathe into your low back. Big breath in. Remember that compression breath, that same energy of breath you did on your back. Find it here too. Breathe into your low back just above your butt. Child's pose. Knees together if you're feeling a lot in your low back. Maybe grab a block for your forehead. Rising back into table. Tucking your toes and making your way to the front of the mat. Exhale to travel to get there. Bend your knees once you do get there. Press your elbows on your thighs and inhale a little flat back. I said no vinyasas, but we did like a little one, and I want to admit that. Exhale, fold. Roll up one vertebrae at a time all the way to standing. Roll your shoulders around at the top. Find your footing. Make sure your feet are pointing forward, or if anything, maybe toes turn in a little bit so your glutes are nice and wide and soft. Roll your shoulders. And notice the subtleties that your hands facing forward or back, how it affects that your shoulders or your abs. So you turn your hands backwards, your shoulders kind of drop down. You spread open those overstretched rhomboids. When your shoulders flip forward, you tend to slide your shoulders into your back, but then your abs stick out. Can you find some semblance of something between the two, where palms face forward, shoulders open up, but core stays strong? Big breath in. Sitting into chair pose. We're only going to do this one time on each side. Step your right leg to the back of the mat, so your left foot is forward. You're in warrior one. Right toes are not out to the side. They're pointing a little bit more forward, kind of at the right corner of your mat. Inhale your arms to the sky. And exhale, open them wide with the palms facing up. And then you're going to raise the roof. You're just going to flap around, hugging your ribs in, pressing your tailbone down, and seeing if you can feel a stretch in the front of the right hip crease. Notice if you're starting to cheat your shoulders up, keep them down. Maybe bend your elbows if that helps. So a lot of yoga really helps with those big structural muscles, all those chaturangas and stuff like that. But we have these little tiny muscles, our rotator cuffs, that need a little bit of help and support. Point your thumbs to the sky and flap your wings this way. And if you're starting to be like, oh, this is really hard, that is exactly the point. Keep your right heel getting a stretch in the calf. Keep pushing that right hip forward. Keep bending into your left knee. Flip your palms down. I'm doing all of this with you so that I know just how burny it's starting to get in the shoulders. Warrior one is a terribly underrated warrior. It's one of my favorites, focusing on squaring the hips, getting a really good stretch in the front of the right hip. Thumbs face down, hands face backward. Last round. Whoo. Breathe. Release the hands. Hello. Step forward, chair pose. Exhale, twist. Grab the outer edge of the body. Bend your elbows. Inhale, come back to center. Keeping your knees hanging out. Grab the other side of the body. Bend your elbows. Inhale, come back up. We know what's happening. Left leg goes back. Right foot is forward, and widen your stance a little bit. You don't have to be on such a tightrope. So that way that left hip can encourage forward as that right hip pulls back. Reach your arms to the sky, big breath in, palms face up. raise the roof. Feel free to bend your elbows if you're feeling a little fatigued here. So you bounce your elbows. The music's relatively chill. There's little snaps and pops for you to breathe through, but use it as a cue to be like, this is fine. I'm just breathing through my nostrils, flapping my wings, probably getting distracted at home and saying hi to your dog, but maybe you're staying here. Thumbs are naturally going up, so let's go there. Thumbs facing the sky, palms facing forward. If your arms are bigger and stronger and buffer, this is harder for you because your arms weigh more. So be tender with yourself. Palms face down. Bringing strength rather than just stretch to our practice. Press into that left heel. Thumbs face down. Almost there. If you breathe through the tiny holes on your face, your nostrils, it's a really good cue to your nervous system that you're in control of the situation. If you're breathing through here, it's fine. Release the hands. Step to the front. Hands to the hips. And slide your hands over the low back, making a little diamond shape on your low back. Drop your ear over to the side, relaxing your jaw, opening your mouth a little. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, keeping your chin parallel to the floor. Don't let your chin fall to your chest as you drop the head the other side, relaxing your jaw. So much of our aches and pains is our body communicating what it needs. How can we thank them for the communication rather than being bugged by them? Inhale, come back up. Release the hands, roll it around. Find any wiggles you need. Maybe the arms feel like jello, so you don't want to wiggle them too much. Take a big breath in, one simple sun A with a little back bend. Exhale, lean back, bend your knees. Squeeze those overstretched shoulders together behind you. Inhale, reach it up. Side bend, exhale. So your side bend can pull a wrist, you can drop an arm, you can make it your own. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, side bend, other side. Inhale, come back up. One more little back bend. Exhale, elbows out wide. Bend your knees. Think of doing a crunch as you come up to standing. Core engaged. Inhale. Bend your knees. Exhale, fold. Elbows to thighs. Walk your hands a little further apart and take your halfway lift, your Ardha Uttanasana here. A lot of times we have hands on the shins or hands on blocks, but elbows on thighs is the same shape, breathing into the flatness of the low back, the length of the spine. Exhale, bend your left knee a little more. Put your left elbow on your thigh and straighten your right leg as you reach your right arm up to the sky. If you would like a half bind, flip the hand over, place the back of the hand on the low back. And a lot of time that makes me kind of want to look down to stretch the neck. To come out of your half bind, first straighten the arm, then flip it. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees a little bit more. When your legs are straight in your fold, you're kind of arching and hunching. When you bend your knees, you get to dangle a little more. Switching sides, keeping your right knee dramatically bent, putting your right elbow on your thigh like you're hanging out. Left arm reaches up. Left leg straightens, both heels are on the floor. Flip that top hand around if you want a half bind and look anywhere the neck likes you to look. Straighten the arm, flip the hand, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, plant the hands and walk back to plank pose. Take a big breath in, lower down your knees and then come to your elbows. Try to lead with your non-dominant arm. So if you hear come to your elbows and your right arm is like, got it, do the left arm instead. You're in a little forearm plank with your knees down. If you need more, you can lift your knees up. Taking a breath here, breathing into the low back. This is one of the best things you can do for your core, for your back. A lot of times we hear like, oh, you need to work on your core strength for your back pain. Crunches are not it. Well, not necessarily. Some stability. Maybe you wiggle your hips a little side to side. Again, knees can be lifted for more. Puffing up in your shoulder girdle, pushing back to your heels a little bit. Drop your knees down, walk your hands back. Come to sit on your feet, maybe grabbing a block to put between your feet. Maybe 2 blocks. Tuck your tailbone, avoid sticking your butt out here. Tucking your tailbone down, take a big breath in, and twist towards the left. Coming back to center, twisting towards the right. Squeezing things in rather than stretching things. Twists are so yummy for back pain. Coming back to center. Come off of the feet and grab your 2 blocks. And if you don't have blocks, I will give you another option for this one. It's not one you want to miss. 1 block really high under your head, 1 block either medium height or even your lowest height under your shoulder blades. And if you have a lot of low back pain, you might also want to sit on a blanket. The tips of your shoulder blades will come onto the block, like the bra strap line. And the head block will be under your head, maybe scoot it back a little bit. The wider your arms are, the deeper the stretch. The closer the arms are, the more gentle. If you do not have blocks, use a blanket rolled up underneath the shoulder blades and maybe a pillow under the head. But you want to have the sensation of something lifting up behind your shoulder blades and something underneath your head. Now, I have another little back tip where we talk a lot about this one. So if this is your best friend, you can just jump right into the next one. Again, supporting the shoulder blades and supporting the head in a way that you get a heart opener of some capacity. If you have low back pain, feet on the floor will be the happiest for you. But if you would like to straighten your legs out, you're welcome to explore those spaces. Walking your feet wide and knocking your knees together is usually happiest on low back, but you can go the exact opposite and do butterfly. Shrug your shoulders down your back, shimmy your chest a little more towards the sky, like you're hugging in those overstretched shoulder blades rather than stretching them out, giving them the support that they need, the support that they're asking for when they ache. Really big breath in. Now this is our final resting pose, but if you would like to roll onto your back and take Shavasana, or roll onto a fetal position and curl into a ball instead, find a pose that your back enjoys, that you feel a bit of exhale around. Maybe point your chin a little higher to the ceiling. Take a big breath in, sigh it out. It doesn't matter if your eyes are opened or closed or what your thoughts are doing. Just allow yourself to try a little bit less to control it all. Melt into this hug in the shoulder blades. And let your heart know that it's safe to rest open as well. Last 3 breaths here. If your legs are not bent, find your feet to the floor, bending your knees, pausing for a moment. And then rolling over onto your side, leaving your blocks behind, rolling onto the floor into a little fetal position. Gently pressing yourself up. Gently pressing yourself up to seated as you bring your hands on top of your heartbeat. You showed up, you paid attention, and you worked a little harder than maybe you expected to. There is so much strength to be had here. Dive into that power of the hips, the heart. And rather than continuing to stretch places where you are already overstretched, give yourself support where you need it. And that's on and off the mat. Take a big breath in. Exhale it out. Thank you for making time to be here today.